Today we're here with one of my brothers, Chief Naphtali Ben Don, brother who's done a lot of work in this community, and I'm happy to have him here with us doing this interview. How are you, my brother?
I'm well. Praise Yah. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. So I want to start out with first asking you about your beginnings. This way of life, did you come into this way of life at a young age, or were you born in this way of life?
I was born into it. My grandfather, he was part of what they call a black Jew back then. My mother was born. She wasn't born into law, but she got into it as she got older, at a younger age. She just gave me and my sister Israelite names, and I think she started going into a Shabbat and stuff like that. And when she was a young girl, my grandfather would take them, and my Uncle Earl and Uncle Troy, they would go to B'nai Zaken and stuff like that, and with all of his kids, because he had quite a bit of kids, but they would all go to, he was taking the B'nai Zaken and stuff like that, and all of them remember going there and stuff like that. So that was the beginnings. That was the beginning. So I remember my first place of worship is as a youngster being B'nai Zaken on Buffalo in Sterling. My mother said that we went to a shop for a little while, but I was a baby. I don't remember, but I remember being 4 and 5 running around inside in B'nai Zaken. Yeah.
Okay, so what do you have vivid memories of B'nai Zaken, or is it?
Definitely. As a youngster, there were individuals there that always had a strong impression upon me. But the main person I think that had an impression upon me as a youngster was Chief Simeon. He was like, he was louder, he was larger than life. He walking around with the fez, he had the big belt on, and he was always in the camp, you know what I mean? And there was a lot of brothers, Chief Naphtali, Principal, Chief Amos, but there were people that were constantly in the camp all the time, you know what I mean? And he was one of those he was just one of those big figures like that,
Right.
So, and I do remember seeing the Prince from time to time, right. And his presence was kind of scary because you see the way that people respected him. Prince Yaakov, when he walked through the door, like you had to just stand still. And when he came through, like he came out of cab or something like that, you know what I mean? Yeah, you felt it. You felt that whole influence that he had amongst the people, you know what I mean? So, and I remember one time, I don't know how I wound up being there, but there was a brother that was getting reprimanded, and it was in a meeting, and it was like all men's meeting or whatever, and we was walking through, and this brother came to the meeting drunk, and he was told to get up and sit down, and get up and sit down, and Prince was making him do it, in front of everybody, because I think, I don't know, it was a violation, I guess, if you came to a meeting drunk, but you saw Prince. It's the first time I saw Prince flex his muscle like that, so,
right.
Yeah.
Okay, so you stayed there till about what age?
I can't recall. I remember just not going back anymore. I knew later on in life the reason why we didn't go back, but I just remember just not going back to the camp, seeing people from the camp, like you see Prince of Rishadai sometimes, because a lot of us lived in the area, you know what I mean? So I lived in Crown Heights, a lot of the people lived in Crown Heights close to the camp. But yeah, we just never went back, and coming to find out later, it had a lot to do with Chief Amos and Principal and Chief Nathaniel and those brothers, and Chief Avinia, Prince Shem, them all leaving, and then a lot of people were making exits after they left as well. So, a lot of the things that were going on in camp, so we never went back. I think after that, there was like a lull, probably like a 2-year lull, and then I was going to Quahal when I was 9 years old, and that's the first time I was exposed to my teacher, Moreh Hoshea. This is the son of Cohen Levi ben Levi. And this man was just, he was different. I say that first. He was a different person from what I was coming. Because you used to being around soldiers and certain figures, whatever the case may be, and guys that were from the street. Not that he wasn't, but he was a vivid character, and he could teach anybody anything. And it wasn't just about and I'm glad I sat under him, because he wasn't just a person that. He had the ability to bring the best out of you, without controlling you. And taught me Hebrew. He taught me how to teach. My first Maftier's portion was under his tutelage. The first time I ever taught anything was under his tutelage. So he put me on that path. And it was just amazing because, he didn't try to control my thinking. But he wanted me to expand my mind and teach the Lord the way the Torah is and the portions the way they were. So he would always bring that out. He wanted you to think for yourself. Wow. And that's the type of person he was. He would always say, you already know the answer, stuff like that. You know what I mean? Wow. And you think about it, you know the answer without him trying to control or, trying to have control over your brain power or your mind. Right. Yeah.
Then after Cohen, what happened after that? You stayed. You say you got there. You was there 9 years old.
Yeah, I was there 9, and I stayed a couple of years there. But at that time too,
was Moreh Meshael there already?
Moreh Meshael wasn't there at all. Moreh Meshael.
Who was the main teacher there at that time?
It was Moreh Hoshea. It was Moreh Hoshea, and it wasn't like a big place at all. You had Moreh Hoshea, Boaz, obviously. Adon Boaz because he ran the place. Zaquin Boaz. There was another brother named he was a Josephite brother. Forgot the brother's name, man. But he was there. He would always have a turban and a lot of earrings on and stuff like that.
Light-skinned brother.
Yeah.
Manasseh?
Brother Manasseh. He was there at the time. Like he was like the front gatekeeper, stuff like that, collector type of stuff. Yeah, and you had visitors from time to time, but you just had that mainstay of individuals that would go there. Then at one point, I was in between that, teachings were being held after brothers left Buffalo. Teachers were being held on Nostrand. They got a place on Nostrand and Sterling and stuff like that. So a lot of feast days would happen there. But that was like only for a little while. They didn't really last too long. You know what I mean? So a couple of years. But that's when I was first exposed to Moreh Meshael. Okay. This is before we actually went to Cohen. Because Moreh Meshael was there, his children, all his kids.
So Nostrand and Sterling was before you went to Cohen?
Before I went to Cohen. But the span of time was like, we left... I was probably 6 when everybody left B'nai. But when I was at when Nostrand was there, I was probably like 7, 8. Yeah. And then there was so many people going back and forth, I think, that left over there after brothers had left. But I remember I was just a young man there, whatever the case may be, and teachings was like in a small upstairs place, nice place, whatever, but it was small, but it fit what was needed. Brothers was there, they held it down.
Who was the main teacher at that particular, do you remember?
I remember the person that taught the most was probably Moreh Meshael that I can vividly remember. But I remember Chief Simeon coming through. So it was like after brothers left there, a lot of people was just, so I remember him coming through. I remember Chief Nathaniel teaching, but the Chief Nathaniel was mainly the reader. He was mainly the reader, but I remember him teaching. So those are the people I remember teaching, like on a regular basis, like, that I can vividly remember. Right. It was Moreh Meshael teaching, and I remember Chief Nathaniel teaching, reading and teaching. Oh, reading. But he was consistently the reader. Wow. But I remember, him teaching. I remember Moreh Meshael teaching and being exposed to his style of teaching, right. In that level. And then after Cohen, I think we were just back on Lincoln Place, right. And at that point, I think it was more gathering than teaching, and the Moreh Meshael was the one that would take all the kids upstairs. You know, he didn't want to stand around in the street corner, so he took all the kids upstairs and did stuff with them. You know, either he did Hebrew teachings or something like that, but he would just take the kids and just be like, you know. So he had always that spirit of teaching, and he has. I got from him, like, you know, he has a vivid understanding of the law, and I say that because he was able to paint clear pictures when he taught. You know what I mean? So he's an adult, but he can still, and he talks like an adult. He didn't talk to us like we were kids. He talked, you know, the same way he talks like now when he teaches. That's the way he talked to us when we were young. You know what I mean? So it was very vivid, and you know.
Oh, he came to Lincoln also.
He was at Lincoln. Him, his children. Mainly, he was like Eliyahu, I would see, but like all of the younger ones wasn't there. But I know Eliyahu was out there, so I mean the brother was just conversion on Lincoln, because we didn't have a spot. Nobody had a spot at that time, and you know, and Lincoln was central. So yeah, he was out there, and you know, he was teaching, man. He would take us on Shabbats and, you know, make sure he had time with us, and you know, he'd teach us stuff in Hebrew and teach us Torah and stuff like that, and you know, but very vivid. You know what I mean? Very vivid. And I'm a person that was attracted to that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, I was always somebody that liked absorbing knowledge, even as a young person. Right. So, you know, the fact that you take your time out, I appreciate that. You know, you taking your time out to teach somebody something to elevate them. Right. You know, and you know, he made my picture, especially concerning how he thinks in the Hebrew and stuff like that, a lot vivid. And it started at a young age as far as that concerned. But yeah. Back to Moreh Hoshea, though, he was like, he was the first, and he was the first person that I was exposed to from Hoshea as far as teaching is concerned, like, you know, that whole school. And I haven't met his father at the time. You know, I know that his father just taught everybody, and a lot of people was his teacher, but you know, everybody said that's Cohen Levy's son, like, you know, I'm like, okay. You know.
I don't know.
Yeah. I know of him, right? I know of his impact and his greatness, whatever, but I haven't met him. You know what I mean? So, but I was a young guy, and he just put us on that path, man. And you know, Moreh Hoshea, God bless his memory, he had an impact on a lot of people. And you know, regardless of what, you know, this man was blessed with a talent to convey messages and teach. You know what I mean? If you got him, you know, it was vivid, it was raw, you know, he did it with comedy, he did it with all types of stuff, but he was a teacher. You know what I mean? So he put me on that path, and you know, God bless his memory.
Hallelujah.
Yeah.
So